tough second half for us. Give Indiana credit for making timely shots and really defending well. I want to begin by giving them credit here first, and we got to find a way to figure some things out here quickly.
Chris, did you think you had a few things figured out coming into this game that had concerned you in the last couple of losses? You talked yesterday about being okay with the 1 day of practice, but when you took the court today, did you feel better about where your team was than?
You know, I think it's a work in progress right now. I think you know, we definitely have some offensive issues that we got to work out.
Chris, it feels like deja vu all over again a little bit compared to last year with the streak, with even Kyle's injury. And does it feel that way to you at times, or is this a total different situation?
I think sure there's some similarities. Young guys struggling through January, a little bit of injury issues. You know, I'm sure there's some similarities. I've not spent a whole lot of time kind of looking at the two, but yeah, I'm sure there's some similarities.
What do you do from this point with your point guard situation? You just ride it out with a young guy who's 7 turnovers today, or what?
Yeah, I think we've got to try to get him in better positions, and you know, as coaches, with all of our guys, we just got to figure out the best way we can help our guys, and then some of it we're going to have to play through.
Chris, seemed like he was pressing at times, just trying to get it all back in one play, and getting up in the air with nowhere you can put the basketball and turn it over. Just what can you do for a young guy at that point?
A lot of film, you know, we've went through that really since the beginning of practice, but you know, sometimes guys got to learn, unfortunately, through game action and through difficult things, and you know, I'm confident he'll learn from these experiences. But sure, that's kind of been the case throughout the year. There've been times where he can get playing a little bit too fast, but like I said, we just got to work with him as coaches. He's got a great attitude. He'll figure it out.
Chris, I don't know if you know this, but you were 4-0 coming in here since you took over at Ohio State. Plus, you beat Indiana a few times at Butler too. And I lost today, but what's been the key for you dominating Indiana over these years?
Well, I certainly wouldn't call it dominate. We won a couple games there, really in the last, you know, what was it? Really last minute. I think the last 2 years here at home, we you know, in those situations we had guys step up and just kind of make plays late. Our guys executed a great action late last year, but Indiana's different. You know, we're different. You know, they're a little older than even they were last year. We're actually a little younger than we were last year, but give them credit. You know, they won the game today, and we gotta be able to respond.
Chris, was Dwayne Washington, was that a coach's decision or injury? Or?
Yeah, just coach's decision.
How did you see him handle that?
I was watching the game, so.
Chris, you have, I guess along those lines, it seems like you have a guy in Dwayne who could score, but isn't giving much on defense. You have a guy in Luther who can defend, but isn't giving you much on the offense, or at least not making shots right now. How does that play out? How do you decide which one you're going to put in the game? Or play longer?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to look at that as a staff and figure out. You know, both guys give us different things. Both guys have to get better in their areas of weakness. But the bottom line is we as coaches got to find the way to get that collection of guards playing better.
When you look at some of what's ailing your offense right now, how much does your lack of size in the point guard position play into that?
I haven't really noticed, honestly, that. I think we're struggling making shots, and you know, I think we just have to get more across the board. You know, we have to get. I thought our senior was terrific today, as he's been, but we have to get more across the board. We were not efficient in passing or scoring in the low post here today. We were really inefficient. We've got to get better at that, you know, collectively.
At this point of the year, how much can you do to change some of these things offensively? Obviously, you can't trade, you can't call somebody up. You've got the guys that you've got. How much can you change mid-season to try to turn some of these offensive issues around?
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out. You know, not making wholesale changes at this point in the season, but I think there definitely some changes need to be made. I think that's the pressing question for us right now.
With Kyle getting back, how limited was he, if at all, and what sort of boost did that provide you?
Just looked a little rusty, but it was great of him to come back in 2 weeks. It's pretty impressive, but just looked a little rusty out there.
Chris, when you're going through something like this, I don't think any reasonable person would expect it to just get fixed right away with a snap of a finger. But as you're trying to figure some things out, how do you feel about, I guess, the connection between your staff trying to relay these messages and the players and how they're receiving them?
Good, good. I think a lot of that depends on the leadership of your group too, and I think that I don't know if I can definitively say one way or the other, but I certainly feel good about that. Feel really good about the guys we have in the locker room and their ability to respond. But listen, it won't change until we change some of these things. That's on all of us. It's not going to change until we play smarter and tougher and sounder in a lot of ways.
How do you coach up toughness? I think you can watch film and get smarter. How do you get tougher?
Well, I think it's a challenge. We've got to, we had a couple of good days of practice. We've got to follow that up with a couple of good weeks of practice, and that'll improve.
When you talk about playing smarter and tougher, and you always say that you're just constantly evaluating yourself, were you seeing some of these plays and maybe not playing smart enough or tough enough earlier in the year, or is this sort of relatively out of nowhere?
I think some of it were concerns we had going into the season about were we going to take the next step in terms of our efficiency offensively. I've told you guys about that, in particular our perimeters. So it's not a complete surprise to me. I thought we had made some improvements. Obviously, we've got to do a better job coaching them to make sure we are making improvements. But at the end of the day, listen, it's not going to change until we make some of these real changes, and that's bottom line.
Chris, you had point guard somewhat issues last year until at the end, guys turned it around. It just clicked.
Yeah.
They were older guys. How much more challenging is it for younger guys to do it?
I think the collection of youth on the perimeter is something that has been a challenge. There's a lot of good things to it, but as coaches, we've got to get our message communicated more clearly, and they've got to embrace and buy into what we're doing at a higher level.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch.